Welcome to this introductory video for refrigerant tracking and compliance with the Parasense platform. In this video we will be covering the most common technician tasks: adding refrigerant, carrying out a leak inspection, and doing a leak repair. In EPA and CARB regulations, these activities are intrinsically linked with activities triggering the need to carry out other tasks within defined time periods. These regulation workflows are embedded into the Parasense platform, automatically scheduling any resulting child tasks from activity recorded in the system. In this video, we will start by covering the regulation workflow for refrigerant additions, inspections, and repairs. We will focus on EPA regulations, annotating with CARB details afterwards. Then, we will walk through a complete example so you can see really how simple this is in practice using the Parasense platform. Thirdly, we will cover the detailed use case of applying for extension. Let's dive in. Let's assume the scenario that as a maintainer, you have been called to site and you determine that refrigerant needs to be added to keep some equipment functioning effectively. So you add refrigerant. EPA regulations require that the rolling 12-month leak rate is calculated each time refrigerant is added. Depending on the purpose of the equipment, a different threshold exists determining the next stages of the process. This applies to all equipment with a refrigerant charge over 50 pounds. If we are under the threshold, the process stops here. If we are over the threshold, we need to carry out a leak inspection of the equipment. In the Parasense platform, the rolling 12-month leak rate is automatically calculated and, if required, a leak inspection automatically created. If a full equipment inspection fails to find a leak and you can confirm the equipment is leak-free, then the process stops here. If, however, you have found one or more leaks, they will each need to be repaired. The Parasense platform will automatically create and schedule a leak repair event for each leak that has been found. The regulatory leak repair process consists of 3 steps. Firstly, repairing the leak. Secondly, an initial verification that the repair is successful. And thirdly, a follow-up verification that the repair is successful, this time ensuring that the equipment is running at operating conditions. In the Parasense platform, the initial and follow-up verifications form part of the repair procedure. In an ideal world, any more refrigerant additions to bring the equipment up to operating conditions would have taken place between the initial and follow-up verifications. Provided that these verifications are successful, this repair procedure is complete. There are time constraints to complete these tasks. A maximum of 30 days is allowed between adding refrigerant and the inspection and any required repairs to be completed. A maximum of 10 days is allowed between the initial and follow-up verifications. These times determine the due date of tasks scheduled within the Parasense platform. In practice, however, we find that these tasks are typically completed far swifter, often on the same day. To further verify that these repairs have been successful, regulations require periodic checks of equipment that have exceeded their leak rate thresholds until the rolling 12-month leak rate is proven to have dropped below and remain below the applicable leak rate for 12 consecutive months. Equipment over 50 pounds charge size require inspecting every 12 months. Equipment over 500 pounds charge size requires inspecting every 3 months. These further leak inspections are automatically scheduled in the Parasense platform. Looking at CARB, there are 2 key differences for organisations under CARB regulations. Firstly, the time frames for completing repairs is halved to 14 days, and 5 days is allowed between the initial and follow-up verifications. Secondly, is on the periodic leak checks. Equipment over 50 pounds requires an inspection every 90 days, regardless of the leak rate, and equipment over 2,000 pounds requires an inspection every 30 days, regardless of leak rate. I hope that this provides a good understanding of the processes required in the EPA and CARB regulations. And now, let's work through an example putting this data into the Parasense platform. So I've just added refrigerant to an appliance and I need to record it in the Parasense platform. After signing in, I'm going to navigate to Record Event on the left-hand side. Select the correct company and site. Using the Type Here box and the filters makes this super swift. All the procedures we've covered in this video are grouped on the same line with a blue border. We'll start by recording the refrigerant edition. Click Add Refrigerant and select the equipment from the list below. Adding refrigerant can happen to any equipment at any time. Let's select Next. Now all the fields are visible on one page. Most of these fields are required and defaulted where possible. Any required field is required by regulatory reporting. So we'll start with the details about adding the refrigerant. We'll select the technician. If you're enrolled as a technician, your name will appear here by default. The date defaults to today, but you can backdate this if we're entering the information retrospectively. The refrigerant defaults to the refrigerant of the equipment as stored in the asset database, and it cannot be changed here. Enter the amount of refrigerant added. You cannot add more than the full charge of the system. Units default to pounds, but you can select kilos if appropriate. Billable and comments are optional, but allow you to make notes for your internal processes. The refrigerant source section allows you to capture and document stock levels if refrigerant stock is entered in the system, and you can specify who supplied the refrigerant and whether it's virgin or recycled. Here we'll say that Cold Care has provided the refrigerant to Fantastic Fresh. All procedures have an optional documentation section. Customer and maintainer work orders or invoice numbers help link these records to any works order management system. All recorded events can be searched on by these numbers, and so this can be very helpful. Digital documents such as a PDF of the invoice can be uploaded. If inspected by the EPA, you will need to present these documents, and uploading a digital copy here just provides all these records in one place. And we'll save the event. Review the confirmation, and you can see here that the 12-month rolling leak rate has been calculated, and we'll just confirm. Now, with this example, we have exceeded the allowable leak threshold, so we know that we need to do a leak inspection. But before we run ahead to do this, I'd just like to show you how the Parasense platform has automatically responded to this activity. Firstly, in the Refrigerant Usage tab, we can see the addition for the equipment in the chart, and this addition will also roll up to aggregate at site, region and company level. Secondly, in the Compliance Calendar, in Historical Tasks, we can see the addition and all the details here. And in the upcoming tasks, the leak inspection is scheduled. You can enter this event here, but we'll return back to the Record Event tab to continue where we left off. Great. So we know we need to do a leak inspection, so I'll select that. And we know we're doing it on the same equipment as before. Just to note at this point, where multiple inspections are due, you can multi-select equipment and record the same information for all of these at the same time. Particularly useful for recurring inspections required in carb regions. Okay, pressing Next. Great, so who carried out the inspection? When was the inspection done? The test method used? And the results. So leak-free is self-explanatory, no further actions here. If you have found a leak, we do need to record just a few extra details. EPA requires a description and cause of the leak, so these are required here. For large distributed refrigeration systems, such as used in a large grocery store or industrial process, some users find that recording the component that has failed is useful. This is optional, so I won't do it now. Comments provides optional space for more details if needed. And requiring an industrial shutdown provides extra time to address any leaks if that's appropriate. Let's save the leak. Now if you find more than one leak, you can continue to add more here. Documentation section, the same as before. Perhaps you'd like to add a photo of the leak if you think it worthwhile. Great. Let's crack on to the leak repair. So at this point you will see that some of the equipment is greyed out. Only equipment with an outstanding leak repair task can be selected here, making it less likely to record this event against the wrong equipment. Pressing Next surfaces the outstanding leaks. In our case, we have just the one. And you can see here that the repair, initial and follow-up verifications are all surfaced on the same page. So doing the leak repair data, who did the repair and when? You have the opportunity here to add a component again if you wish. And the result of the repair. We'll say we've repaired it. Moving to the initial verification, we default to assume that it's the same person carrying out the verifications, but you can update this too if you need to. Simply test method and result is needed. I'll choose leak detection device and pass. Exactly the same for the follow-up verification. And I'll also confirm that the system was running at operating conditions. As always, optional documentation section, and save, and confirm. We've now completed the process. Now the final chapter of this video is to explain extensions. There are 3 reasons an extension to the repair deadline can be granted. The first is radiological contamination. Second, other regulations make a repair impossible. Or thirdly, components that are needed to carry out the repair are not available. The EPA needs to receive a letter by post or email requesting the extension within 30 days of the leak threshold being exceeded. A copy needs to be kept by the owner or operator, and any repair efforts should be documented. You can assume the request is granted. If it's not, the EPA will get in touch with you. So the Parasense platform generates and stores the letter for the EPA for you and updates task due dates accordingly. So let's walk through how to do this. In the Parasense platform, select Apply for Extension. Any equipment with an outstanding leak is selectable. Here's the equipment I will use an example. I've added a leak in here just now. Select the leak and a short page requiring who is requesting the extension, the date of the request, select the reason. You can select more than one if relevant. I'll just add some comments here because this will be surfaced in the request letter. Save, and next. The option to add any documents. I won't in this case. And now we see a preview of the letter to submit to the EPA. I'll just zoom in a little bit for the screen. So this letter here contains all the information the EPA requests, including the reasons for the repair. On the final step, you can download the PDF for emailing or printing and for you to send. It's not yet possible to send to the EPA directly from the Parasense platform, as the EPA might need to reply to the equipment owner. And let us finish here. So to find out more about the other features we touched on this video, including the compliance calendar and refrigerant usage, please see our other videos. Thanks for watching.